Yotowi, A Day in 1872 by Kim E. Ramseer. Illustrated by Irving Toddy. Yotowi peeked out from under her soft deerskin blanket. Bare feet slapped the dusty ground around her as her family hustled to start their busy day. There would be little rest now until the winter's food was safely stored. She walked out of the lean-to house to where Mama was rekindling the fire. Yotowi opened a wrapped bundle and scooped handfuls of shriveled caterpillars into a basket of water. Mama carefully lifted a hot rock from the fire with a wooden tongs and lowered it sizzling into the basket to heat the water. Yotowi and her brother Woloki had caught the caterpillars last spring. Mama had cooked them in piles of heated dirt and laid them in the sun to dry. Later, the two children hid them in the cool California foothills to protect them from the summer sun. Only yesterday had they brought them back to their village. Yotowi grabbed her caterpillars and an acorn cake quickly, then hurried to help Mama. Mama had dug a hole in the earth, lined it with grass, and filled it with acorns that had been shelled and pounded on a great rock. Yotowi and Woloki carried bowl after bowl of water from the stream to pour over the acorns. Soon the water ran clear, which meant that the bitterness had been washed out. Mama put some of the acorn mush into a big bowl to save for tomorrow's breakfast. Yotowi gathered the rest of it and, after draining it on the grass, shaped the mush into cakes that could be cooked on a rock in the fire. They would eat some of the cakes tonight with dinner, but the rest would keep for many weeks. Luckily, the granaries were full of acorns this year. The trees had given enough for the tribe as well as for the squirrels, woodpeckers, and bears. Mama handed Yotowi a large basket and sent her down to the marsh for cattails. Like many villages of the Maidu people, Yotowi was nestled in small silver pines above a lake. Here the Maidu were protected from white men camping on the shore, and yet were near the oak trees along the lake and the animals they hunted. The soggy end of the lake also gave them tule reeds for their roofs and baskets. Hot from her long walk, Yotowi was happy to wade in the cool shallows looking for cattail roots. The long roots were easy to pull up from the muck, and soon her basket was overflowing. Tomorrow she would help Mama pound them and dry them in the sun to make bread flour. Tired but cool now, Yotowi rested on the bank and ate her lunch of pemmican. It was made of deer meat that had been pounded with fat and fruits, then hung on racks to dry. She thought of her father out on another deer hunt. She hoped he would be successful and there would be fresh meat for dinner. As she got up to leave the marsh, Yotowi noticed white, shiny stuff on some tule leaves. She dropped her basket in excitement and splashed back into the squishy mud to gather a big bundle of the leaves. Tying them together, she carried them over her shoulder above the basket of roots. Yotowi hurried back to camp, calling Woloki to show him her treasure. They ran to Mama and begged her to let them make some treats. Mama smiled in agreement, and they sped away to get the mats. It wasn't very often that they found leaves where tiny aphid bugs had left their droppings. The droppings crystallized in the sun, making them brittle and easy to see. Yotowi and Woloki set the leaves on their tule mats and beat them with sticks until the crystals fell into a bowl. They added drops of water until the crystals were slightly damp, then used their hands to roll the sugary paste into balls. Yotowi and Woloki were just about to eat the candy when a call from the ridge signaled the hunter's return. 3 large deer hung from poles held between the men. All the village women and older children ran to help prepare the meat for a feast. Later, after finishing her meal, Yotowi rose wearily from her place with the family. She plucked the last piece of candy from the bowl as she made her way to her deerskin. Snuggling down into its furry warmth, she lay listening to the snap of the fires and the hum of the people until she fell asleep. Think about it. How did the people in the Maidu community get their food? What parts of the environment did the villagers use for shelter and tools? The author includes a lot of details about one day in the life of the villagers. What do you think is her purpose for writing so much about one day? What was life like for the villagers?